Welcome everyone to another episode of Brewed Awakening. I'm getting used to our new name, but if you haven't subscribed to our new channel, please do so. Look for Brewed Awakening. We are missing one of our coaches that is usually with us today, so she's traveling, and we are going to do this without her. It doesn't feel the same without her. So my name is Poonam. I'm a certified conscious parenting coach. I'm a mom to two grown-up boys, and I'm the founder of Possibilities Redefined.
Hi, everyone, and I'm Anna. I'm also a conscious parenting coach. I'm a doula and a childbirth educator, and I've got my cards ready. So let's pull one for today and discuss between the two of us. All right. Here we go. Every one of them is so good, but they just hit in a certain way. Children are the gurus of living in the now. Follow their lead.
Yeah, it is very similar to what we were discussing last week. I mean, the card had like obviously a different meaning as well, but what we were discussing was, actually children have that capacity to be in the moment, which we don't. And most of our struggles with our child is because we are living in the past or in the future. And if we learn to kind of follow their lead and be with them in the present moment, I think we won't have as many struggles as parents.
Yeah, it's definitely such a mind mess because it's so simple to live in the present. You just connect to whatever you're doing in the present. But then the mind guides you to the thoughts of, you can't live in the present because what happens to dinner? What happens to homework? What happens to all the stuff that we have to do in the near future? So how do we do this, Poonam? How do we connect to the present moment and hold on to what needs to happen next as parents, but without letting ourselves fully be absorbed by the stuff that needs to come in the near future? Because I think that's where we get a little tangled and we lose ourselves from the present moment, and then we don't connect, right? Because the kids, especially if they're little, like 6, 7, 8, they're just in their now in whatever they're doing, if they're playing. And so we get stressed as parents thinking like, if I don't take him out to prep him, like, hey, you have homework, make sure you, right? Then they'll never do that. But I think that's what we need to be aware of. And we need to really sit with that because it comes from our fear of something not happening. So we go into lack and then we project that lack onto the kid. And then this connection happens and then we're all stressed. Instead of just waiting for the time to come and say, now let's do homework, right?
It's a difficult one. It is difficult because, there are two parallels. we are living this life. So we need to understand that it's our soul's journey. That's one side. And then we are performing certain functions in the form world, which we need to do to be able to survive. So let's get to the crux of it, though. So my first question is, why are children able to live in the now and we parents can't?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is the conditioning. We have been conditioned over the years to fear the future and draw on information from our experiences from the past. Now, some of that is good, because that keeps us safe. And it applies more in the form world. But some of it is not necessary. But how do we draw the line? Because we go into that overdrive, So we have to prep our children for the things that they need to do in the form world too, because they need to survive. So they need to learn all of that as well. But where do we draw the line where we let them be in the present and we join them in that lead, like the way they are leading, because we've forgotten all of that. We were born like that as well, but over the years we've forgotten it. So that is number one. And number two, we still have some kind of boundaries where we transition into the form world and experience the form world as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think the form and formlessness, to keep both in awareness at all times so that we don't get absorbed and attached to the form. I think you're right. Through our conditioning and just our experience in the form world, we are prone to attach and possess and have expectations. But then those are the things that rob us of being able to be in the present moment. And sometimes they work, but then sometimes they don't. And we know when they don't work because there's a lot of resistance, not just from the kid, but from our own selves. Like when we struggle with something, it's almost like as if we're pushing against it, we're not supposed to have it that way or be that way. But the harder it is, the more we push, thinking that that's what we have to do, which in fact is the opposite, right? When I work with my own issues and frustrations and things, I always visualize this rope that I'm holding. It's like a tug of war with something, whatever that is, something that's bothering me or something that's not going my way or something that, and then I just imagine, I say, what will happen if you just let go of the rope? Like, just let go. And then I can feel the fear of like, how can I let it go, right? The control. How can I let go of control? I'll fall apart. And then I'll say, like, just try it. Just try for a little bit. Just right now, right here in this safe space, just try to let go of that mental rope and see what happens. And I instantly feel the ease and this sense of just being okay. Everything's okay. So it's one way of working with yourself in this way. And it's the same with kids too. And it's even easier with children, because if the child pulls and you pull in a different direction, it's important to know that we're the only ones that are capable of letting go of the rope. Children are not, because developmentally they're not there. And so if we look at it from the outside, it looks kind of ridiculous because you're thugging with the kid. Of course you have more power and eventually you'll pull them over. But you have also the power to let it go and just let things be. Yeah, and they truly are the gurus of living in the now, because they do, and they do it so beautifully. We can learn from them so much. They don't dwell, they don't sit in this dwelling that we sit in as adults. When we make a mistake, we're like self-blame and all of this stuff, while children just move on, and they're like, okay, you talk to them for a little bit, they kind of get it. They're like, okay, on to the next thing, because life is constantly changing and flowing. Life doesn't ever stop.
Yeah. And you know what? When we think of the fear, especially where our kids are concerned, we have good intentions in our heart, because from our conditioning, we view their lives and we fear that things will not work out as they should, as we have been conditioned. And that's why we fear. And that's why we try to control everything that we want to control, and especially our children, because they are ones that are closest to us. And so that's why we are more concerned about their safety, their well-being, like all of the good intentions. But in doing that, we are actually projecting our own lack. When we look at things and we start fearing, if they don't do the homework, we just go to the extremes, and I think we've discussed that in many episodes where we just start thinking, oh, if they don't do their homework today, they're going to fail their exam and they're never going to be successful and they're never going to earn money. And like we go into that spiral.
Mm-hmm.
But come to think of it, in practical terms, I think intellectually we all know that we can't control anything, but we don't want to submit to it. And that's the hardest part, because we have no control. Like if human beings had control over how their children's life pans out, then none of us would have any problems ever. Our parents tried to do the same thing. They were so much in love with us in the ways that they knew how to love us. Okay? So if you and me think about our lives, we've gone through our own set of ups and downs. And we've dealt with it. So if we try to understand what is the most important thing, what is it that we have to have a boundary for, and what is it that we can let go? So if we make those conscious decisions, then I think probably we can have a mix of when we can be in the moment with them and learn from their lead, and there would be a mix of where we have to draw the line and just work for the form world as well, because they go in parallel.
Yeah, and I think if we sit and think a little bit, life very rarely goes, to not say never, but it very rarely goes the way we imagine it'll go, or the way we plan, or the way we expect, or the way we feel we need in that moment. Because what we need now is not what we'll need next week when we think of that, right? So I think we're just afraid that we won't be able to hold the present moment. And because we're afraid that we can't hold the present moment, we prep and we control and we do all of this stuff beforehand in order to feel a sense of control. But it's an illusion, really, because when you wake up in that moment, it's a whole nother new moment and you're thrown into it, and it will actually show you what it needs and you are capable of meeting it.
Yeah.
So if we start to really see our power in the present moment, we can really cultivate a sense of self that's very different. And then we can start to trust. And then that's where curiosity comes about. Like, what's tomorrow going to bring me?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the universe has created us as complete and whole. But with our conditioning and the way we've been brought up, the way the environment is, and there's so much fear in what can happen and what can't happen and how things happen, and there's a checklist, we fail to see that we have enough power and ability to deal with whatever is presented in the moment. We fail to see that. We don't even trust our own abilities.
Yeah.
And then there is a bigger energy, power, whatever force that is making all of this work. And see, if you look at the universe, it's so beautiful. Like, look at plants. I just remembered, just over this weekend, we went to the nursery to buy some plants, and I was amazed at the beauty of the nature, like the leaves with those colors and immaculate designs on those leaves. And I'm like, Look at how beautifully nature creates everything, everything. And nature has created us as well and our children, masterpieces. But we fail to see them as masterpieces, and we start thinking we have to make them something. They already are what they need to be. And that's where we start projecting, and we want them to do things a certain way because there's a checklist that we are following. But
Yeah.
let's go back and start thinking, can we question that checklist? Who created it? And everyone's checklist is different. So if everyone's checklist is different, then there is no right, there's no wrong. So what are we pushing our children to do or become?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another angle, that's another thought that we need to, we need to actually put our actions and thoughts through some filters to understand what are we trying to achieve as parents. What is it that we are trying to achieve? Like, when we say, a child is misbehaving or not listening to you, it's bedtime and they're playing, they're in the moment, they're enjoying. What is our agenda as a parent? What am I trying to achieve? If we sit with that and try to analyze, where are you coming from as a parent? I think we'll understand that sometimes we get into the power struggles and we fall into the trap of the ego, and we start thinking, I'm the parent, I make these decisions. Like sometimes it is not even about the child at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Most
But
of
if
the
we
time.
Yeah, but if we come from the place of curiosity and see what the child is feeling and experiencing, and do we want to interrupt that play, or like for whatever reason you want to, then we would be able to make better decisions, as in, do we need something right now or can we let it go? And I love that part in that statement that you just read out, that they are the gurus, because they actually are showing us how life is to be lived in the present moment, and how we can go with the flow and just you know kind of immerse ourselves in the beauty of the way the life is presenting, you know
Yeah. They
so
embody
if we
it. Yeah.
yeah so if we start learning that, I think we will become more calm, more peaceful with where we are in the journey of our own souls.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much emphasis these days on mindfulness, practice meditation, do this, do that. You can just go and follow your child, and all of that will be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. We don't need to separate from our life the way it is to go and do something
Mm-hmm.
else to get something. There's nothing to get. You just simply learn to cultivate this practice of being present in whatever your life situation is, because it is now and here. And so, yeah, we move from making our life or making our children a certain way or making anything happen to being curious and discovering what our children are, discovering what our life is, discovering
Yeah.
um, and we soon find that it's a whole different paradigm shift. It's a it's another experience, and children trust this process, um, mainly because they don't have as much mental knowledge. That's where we get tangled in our mental knowledge, and the more we know, the more we sit in here. And being in the present is sitting in here, in your body, in your life, in your mind too, but in all of it as an observer. And children do this. They just trust their present moment. When they jump over a puddle, they don't sit and calculate, am I going to fall in or am I going to be able to make it? They just jump. It just comes, they jump. And then if
Exactly.
they fall in, they'll deal with it. They get up and
Yeah.
they move on. But we, the parents, are like, oh no, now you're wet. Now you're this, now you're that. Now we have to deal with it. and I don't want to deal with it. So therefore I won't let you jump because there's a risk that you'll fall in. So yeah, it's as simple as that. It's just every
Exactly.
single
That's a
day.
very good example.
Yeah.
Because even if a child gets wet, he has no agenda. He or she has no agenda around being wet. Wet is okay. I just went in and this is fine. But we have an agenda because let's break it, you know. So our first agenda is my child looks shabby. So the child is not presentable. So the way the society expects a child to be, they are not like that. And then I have extra work now. So I have to take the child, shower, give them a shower, wash their clothes, wash their shoes. So there are so many things that quickly just go through your mind as a parent. And then because you're frustrated, because the expectation that you have of the way you want to present your child and the amount of work that you have to do, that is causing the frustration. The child has done nothing.
Yeah.
The child is in the present moment enjoying that. But how about you and me join our children, jump into the puddles, and have fun in the present moment?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
We've
Because that's
lost
where
that ability
that's where they
way
learn.
back.
Yeah. And that's where kids learn their limits. That's where they learn what they're about. That's how they discover. And so when we don't let them do what they want to do because it's inconvenient to us, we
Mm-hmm.
rob them of finding out who they are and what they like and what they want. And so we really have to keep that in mind. And, you know, it's as easy as prepping. I think for years, I had a backpack. I never carried a purse or anything. It was always a backpack, and there was always some kind of snack in there, some kind of water, and a change of clothes. And that was the solution to that, because it is, if you have a plan of going there and there and there, and your kid is wet, then you have to go back home, you know, but make it easy. Allow them to be who they are, and make it easy, and have some solutions on hand where you don't have to take away your child's opportunity of being in the present moment and doing what they feel like doing.
Yeah. And we get so conditioned, like our children are becoming conditioned as well, because we are kind of dictating, you know, how they should be. So slowly they are being conditioned. They don't even know why they are doing things, but they do it because it pleases us. And I've done that to my children. But of late, ever since I've started this journey, I've tried to look at myself, you know, where did I get that conditioning from? And I realized that I have actually forgotten what I like to do. I have totally forgotten. I just function according to what is expected from my surroundings. And if someone was to, like, I started analyzing those things, and I realized, you know, every time we go out, let's say simple things like we go out for dinner, and my children or my husband, they ask me, you know, where do you want to go? I just say, oh, wherever you go, I'll go with you. And then I realized I have forgotten to enjoy in the present moment, because I don't know what it looks like. I've been conditioned so much that I just do things on autopilot, and I don't even know what I like or dislike anymore. Like, it's that big. So obviously if I am that now, then when I was raising my children, I was raising my children from that conditioning, because how could I teach them to be themselves when I myself was not myself?
Right. Yeah. The way you model is what they get instantly without having to talk about it, for sure.
Yeah. So I definitely am in a situation now where I can look at that thinking objectively, and I would love to follow a child's lead, because I would want that happiness and that freedom and that sense of enjoyment, and being the ability to just be, like, without any pressure,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and just flow with the universe. That's where I want to be. Like, I'll have to do a lot of unlearning to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Really good talk. Very good talk. So yes, children are the gurus of living in the now, and we should get curious and follow them and just sit and observe them, observe them, how they move from thing to thing, and they don't have transitions, and they just give themselves permission to do whatever. They're so natural at it. And we can learn from that and try it a little bit on our own skin.
Yes,
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
definitely. Thank you. Thank you for joining us every week. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to our channel and share the videos that you like with your friends or like-minded people. Thank you so much.